All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now we're going to talk about Khabib's comments about Dustin Poirier here, because he actually made some very interesting comments that we can do a video about, right? And discuss, because he said that we have seen the last of Dustin Poirier. Not the last of him, but we'll never see the hungry version of him ever again. So, listen, anytime that Khabib talks about the psychological approach of any fighter, I always listen very intently. Now, I mean, for obvious reasons. Like, who's going to know more about what it takes to be a champion in the UFC than Khabib, obviously. But he's also, in addition to just talking about like the focus it takes, whatever, he's actually made some blanket statements that I've really dissected and been like, let me think about that. And it's been true every time that I can think of. The only one that I can think of actually where I could at least try to poke a hole in it, or at the very least we might be in the middle of a hole potentially being poked in it, is he said no fighter ever peaks twice. Like a fighter peaks and they either maintain their peak or they don't. But no fighter peaks, loses it, and then peaks again. And Jose Aldo, if he can continue to fight the way that he has, and he actually comes back and he beats Jan in their rematch and gets the belt and then maintains it for a couple, I mean, that would be incredible. If anybody's not rooting for that, then we have a different outlook on the sport. But nonetheless, Khabib talked about Dustin here, and I think he said some very interesting things, so we're going to talk about it. Now, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. I just did a video about Sean Strickland's comments about Jake Paul that I would highly encourage you guys to watch, because it's much more entertaining than you might think just looking at the thumbnail. So give that a run, and we can all laugh together. But yeah, if you guys don't mind, subscribe to the channel, assuming that, you know, if you watch my stuff, I will be eternally grateful. Okay, so basically what Khabib said about Dustin is, I'm actually going to read this to you. Khabib thinks we have seen the last of Dustin Poirier following his title defeat to Charles Oliveira at 269. Poirier, who came up short in his bid to become lightweight champ, said prior to the fight that he wanted to fight less frequently, and judging by his post-fight comments, the Eagle believes the Diamond might only have a few more miles left on the clock and could be nearing the end of his career. Quote, after the fight, he said he needs to think. Does he need it at all? If such thoughts came into his mind, it means he will win, but he will win and lose, Khabib said of Poirier at a recent press conference. He will not go to the end when it will be necessary. Sometimes you look at the athlete and you see how fast the change is. I say it to my close friends, while there is a time you should stay active and keep fighting, if the switch clicks once, he will never go back. And I think his switch clicked. The time comes. There was Frankie Edgar, Benson Henderson, Pettis before me. Then Conor. No one stayed. Everyone left. Now it is Charles Oliveira's time. Charles came. Now it is time for Islam, Beniel, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira. They will fight now. Then they will leave too. Others will come. No one can control this, and no one will be able to stop this. Time runs out. I think everything is simple. Charles Oliveira was better, choked, and left. Later, another one will come and beat him. He will go out. Then we will talk about another one. It is such a carousel that will never be stopped. Now, what he said is incredibly obvious, but also incredibly insightful, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of times I'll say things on the channel and people will comment something like, well, you're just stating the obvious. And it's like, well, right. It's obvious after I said it. And this is one of those things that is very obvious after he said it. And yet, it's still incredibly insightful. Now, I'm not trying to put myself next to Khabib in terms of that kind of... I'm just saying that, like, when someone says something that really lands, right? And it's something that's like an original thought. That's kind of the point that I said something that I know I've never heard anyone else say, right? And then someone will be like, well, that's super obvious. I'm like, well, why hasn't anybody else fucking said it then, right? And this is one of those things where it's like, this is obvious that people have their time and then they go off. But, like, when it comes to the specific people he's talking about, and it's like people are still holding on to the idea that these people who have gotten off the carousel are going to come back and have their day, right? Conor, Khabib, Dustin, they might come back and have their day. And he's like, they're done, dude. Like, their switch, Tony Ferguson, their switch is clicked. They're done. They're not coming back. That's not going to happen. And you really think about it and you're like, he's probably right, dude. Like, in these specific examples, if you were going to have to bet on either Conor, Dustin, Tony Ferguson, Khabib even, you know, any of them to be the champion in 2 years, and you were betting against Islam Makhachev, Oliveira retaining the title, Justin Gaethje, those would be crazy bets. Like those would just be crazy bets. He's right. Like these new hot guys are the ones. And with Poirier, you know, he fought his way all the way back. He's looked incredible. He lost by rear naked choke. But I knew there was something different about him in the build-up. I mean, obviously the build-up, he seemed very different. He just seemed really confident. Like he was like, but like in a different way where like that's not always a good thing for fighting, you know, where he was like, he could feel that he's like a star. He's made it. And the money is not a small part of that. Like he made so much money. He's wealthy now, you know, like he doesn't need to fight. And that's a huge part of this too. So much of this game is like that championship and the money that comes with it is just right there for guys. It's fucking right there. They can see it. It's like, and they're going to fight for it. It's why it's the best sport ever. They're going to fight for it. But they're fighting for it every day in the gym. They're training their balls off. And what's the motivation? Like it's a game of millimeters, dude. It's a game of millimeters. And just a little bit extra in the gym can be the extra energy that you need, or the little thing that you worked on can be the thing that saves you from getting choked out or whatever. But the guys that are starving are more likely to do that, to do the extra mile than guys who have, you know, where that little, what he said, the click has gone off where it's like, do I really need to do this? It's like that last little bit, the sharpest part of the knife. If it's not there, he's saying it doesn't come back. And that makes perfect sense to me. And Dustin, I mean, do you guys think it's unrelated to the fact that he probably made more money in the fight against Conor than he had? He probably made double as much money for that fight as he had in his entire career combined. As a matter of fact, I would actually bet a lot of money that that's accurate. You know, like the reports are that he made like $10 to $12 million. I mean, well, how much was he making before that? No way. I mean, he's not even. Oh, I forgot about the Khabib fight. He probably made a lot of money for the Khabib fight. But anyway, I mean, the bottom line is, it's interesting to think about because he's right. And if you look at like kind of the roadmap for Dustin, because he lost to Charles, he would need Charles to lose, which could happen. Here's the thing. Actually, I can tell you exactly how Dustin gets another title shot. I can tell you exactly how that happens. Dustin needs to go get one more win. He needs to get one more win, right? He needs to fight someone good and get one win, because if Gaethje wins the championship, Gaethje lost to Dustin. He wants that fight back. Bet your fucking life he wants that fight back. And you can sell the shit out of a Dustin and Gaethje fight, without a doubt. So actually, I'm not saying that Dustin would win, wouldn't win. Now I've actually completely veered off topic. I think we've covered the Khabib thing. I think he's incredibly insightful and it's really interesting to think about. But now I'm talking about this other thing. How could Dustin become the champion? He actually could. He needs one fight. He needs to win decisively. And then Gaethje would need to beat Oliveira, because Gaethje wants that Dustin fight back. Now, I don't think that Gaethje is going to get out of fighting Islam Makhachev. He's definitely not going to. If Islam Makhachev beats Dariush, he's fighting for the title next. Bet your life on that, because Khabib will flip the table over if not. And if Dariush wins, I mean, theoretically, you would probably have to fight Dariush, next also. Not as certain as Islam, just because Dariush is not as huge of a star. But if Poirier goes and, like, let's say he fought Chandler or something, if Chandler, man, that would be a fucking great fight. Let's say he fought Chandler, or he fought, I don't know, it'd have to be someone really good, It would have to be someone really good. But if he beats someone really good, Gaethje's going to want that fight. So he could become the champion. Anyway, I'm totally off topic. But Khabib's comments are very interesting, and I love you guys. I'll be live later. Thank you guys for continuing to support the channel. Peace.